Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. We're going to be exploring the evolution of Revit and how to increase efficiencies through automation. I'm joined by my colleague Paul.
Morning Craig, morning all.
And so thank you for joining. Just a quick introduction to myself, Craig Schonborn. I'm a client success manager here at Symmetry. I come from a BIM management background on the design side in architecture, working on things like airports, high rises, residential, hotels. I like the large sort of complex projects, and one of my passions is using Revit more efficiently and getting the job done quicker. And that's part of the topic of today. Paul, if you wouldn't mind giving an intro to yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Paul Grimston. I'm a principal consultant here at Symmetry. Been here for over 20 years now, actually. Started as an architectural technician very long time ago now. We even had drawing boards and rotary pens back then. But yeah, so I've been working here for, as I say, a long time. Primarily AutoCAD at the very beginning until Autodesk purchased Revit, and then been using that ever since actually. So probably 15 plus years now, I guess. And yeah, it's implementation, configuration, training, workflows, anything that our clients need to make them more efficient, to get them up and running, and that's, you know, big clients, you know, some of them really massive projects that you kind of mentioned, but also some of the very smallest ones as well. So yeah, we've seen it from all directions, and for the last couple of years, based on what we're going to talk about today, I've also been getting involved quite a bit in Naviate, which is Symmetry's own technology that we've developed to help make Revit better. Is the best way to think about it, I guess.
Nice, thank you, Paul. So one of the things is that Revit's latest release came out, I think it was probably last month or so.
Yeah.
When we talk about a bit about trends. So what can we generally expect from the latest release?
Sure, yeah. So it's, well, the big headline thing is the Topo solid. So we no longer have the Topo surface. That if you're upgrading, you can convert that to a Topo solid, but effectively it's, I guess it kind of brings in functionality that we're probably used to seeing on floors and roofs with the shape editing and the points, but it does maintain all of that, you know, being able to use contours and everything else to build the topography. But the nice thing is we get an actual object, so we can have layers, you know, different strata within the solid, and we can interact with other objects a lot better. So we can have voids, we can cut away, we can you know, cut under. So if we need things like basements and substructure, tunnels, we can actually cut that into the solid. So yeah, it's a completely different workflow for how we're going to do that kind of site modeling and landscaping and stuff there. Other than that, it's probably building on more of the same in terms of usability and interface and speed. So I don't mean little things like the project browser, that's now got a filter on it, project browser searching, so we've been able to search forever, but it's now more of an interactive filter where you can just, you know, type in the top and the whole browser gets filtered to that thing.
Nice, yeah,
and really quick actually as well, so that's useful. We can actually choose rail colors now instead of just Pantone, so that's taken a long time, but we've got color books like we've had in AutoCAD for a while. The new texture shading is good as well, so we can display the textures that we're going to use in the render materials without going to the full realistic rendering, which is always quite slow. So this is a kind of nice quick way of doing that.
I like that.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah. A couple of other bits, I guess, the cloud coordination models. So again, we've been able to link Navisworks models in as coordination models. So now we can do this straight from Autodesk Docs, and it will take any file format that Autodesk Docs can view, or any 3D format, I should say. So, you know, that opens up all sorts of not just generic file formats, but things like Inventor models, or, you know, you can link in Rhino and SketchUp and all of those, which you can obviously do in a normal way, but now you can do it direct from the cloud.
I like it.
That's really good, actually. Earlier versions of Revit, without upgrading them, you can link them in and see them. You know, that's kind of a nice.
That's very impressive, yeah.
And I guess the last bit, which is worth a mention, is we get the updated version of Twinmotion as well. So that's kind of nice as well too.
No, I like it.
That's good.
No, they're great. Thanks. That's a great summary. I think the one that obviously the big one, like you said, was Topo.
Yeah.
And that's always been a pain. Just like there's always seemed to be lacking and a hack. Whatever you try to achieve, you couldn't get the look that you want. You couldn't get the information you wanted. You just kind of had to, you know, make it work somehow.
Workarounds, all workarounds.
All workarounds.
Floors and roofs mostly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite out.
And so it's great that it's it's come right in a big way.
Yeah.
So that's great. What about things like sheet management? That's a big one, of course. Yeah. So how far has 2024 come to deal with this?
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. It has been improving for a while, I think. I mean, actually, back in 22, they put the duplicate sheet function in. That was kind of the first step of starting to improve some of that workflow. Actually, that was the same time they put the PDF export in as well.
Okay, yeah.
I still see clients that don't realize if you go under your file menu and down to export, you can export PDF without installing any other software. You know, and actually it's really good because you pick up the sheet size, you can mix and match when you batch print, and then you can build the PDF name from parameters. So you don't have to go and rename them all afterwards, which you normally do. So that's kind of been there. They introduced in 23 that you could swap views between sheets. So if you had a view on one sheet, but you wanted to swap it for another, you didn't have to delete it, find it, and drag it back on. You could just sort of do a straight swap.
I like it, yes.
And actually, at the end, in the 23.1, you could move views between sheets. So if you expand the sheet in the project browser, say, you could pick on a couple of the views and then just drag it to a different sheet.
Okay.
And they would move across. So that's nice. That's all in 24, obviously. I think in 24, the best bit really is being able to place multiple views on the sheet. So
I like it. Yeah.
Blank sheet, select several views in the project browser and just drag them all out in one go. And then it sort of arranges them in a sort of tile.
Yeah.
You drop it down and you know, it sounds like a little thing, but you start to realize how much time you spend dragging individual views and placing them when you can see that functionality there.
Yeah, I think I was going to come onto that sort of view placement, but yeah, I think basically for me, what I've seen is this is just great. There's so many of the improvements that have just added a lot of automation, or let's say just sped up that manual one click, because like you said, even with the view placements or the sheet creations or the PDF creations, it's just cutting out another step that you had to do before.
That's it. And on their own, they're not, you know, it's not going to make the headline that you can now move a view between sheets. But, you know, if you need to do it, it's kind of, you know, quite time consuming. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I think that's really been a feature of Revit for the last few releases. It's just been evolving. You know, It's not been massive changes, but the workflows, the everyday things are just getting that bit easier.
No, exactly. And so if you could just expand a little bit more on the view placement, the automation. I mean, that's always been something that's super time consuming. So could you just elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one area that I'd still like to see improvement in Revit is, you know, you place views on, but they go where they go, and then you need to manually, you know, use a guide grid, or, you know, people put some detail lines or something, and, you know, you have to sort of move them all in place. So that's one area that it could improve. I mean, that would, you know, overlap a little bit with our own tools. Okay. So, you know, in the Naviate add-ins that Symmetry we've got there, in Naviate Accelerate, we've got quite a few sort of sheet management tools, and or view and sheet management tools. And one of those is the Create Sheets tool. And this essentially, it's a little bit like the duplicate sheet, but it will place the views on at the same time. So, you know, you set your first sheets up, place whatever view, schedule, legends and things on there. And then you use the Create Sheets tool and you choose as many views as you like, and it would effectively duplicate that sheet and place those views on, and give you the option to align those views, you know, whether it's center to center or, you know, by the corners or whatever you need. And you know, if you've got one of those high rises, 20 stories on a sheet,
Yeah.
you do one and then let Naviate do the rest, and they all line up, and it's a real time saving tool actually. So yeah,
No,
that's really good.
I can see that. I think the part that was frustrating for me, there was workarounds, obviously with the guide grids in Revit and so on, but incredibly tedious.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the technology was there to do it, but it just didn't do it.
Just didn't quite work. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, so with this Naviate, if I'm getting it correct, you basically set up a sheet and then you're able to replicate that, all the positioning quite easily.
Yeah, that's it. Just so it's put that on. I mean, obviously people use scope boxes most of the time, so your viewport is the same size. And then it just means you can align those, whether it's center to center if they are slightly different, or you can use the model origin so that it gets properly aligned in kind of you know, real world coordinates, as it were. And the other thing is it gives you like a little bit like an Excel table then to also fill out all of the parameters. So all of the sheet names, the sheet numbers, and anything else that you need is all in that creation tool. And yeah, it just really speeds up that workflow a lot actually. Yeah.
Nice. I think that pre-planning also lets you you know, get to your end result a bit quicker. You don't have to figure it out and then go to Revit or go backwards and see what you. I think this is a great workflow just to go one shot in.
There's one other thing about it is actually after you've created all of those sheets, if you need to tweak the view placement, we can do that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can then go and pick all of those sheets that we've got created.
Yes.
And then in the edit sheets, imaginatively named, as it were, you can then see the actual views and you can change them. You can move them around by coordinates. So if you need to move it over 10 mil, you can do that to all of those sheets in one go.
Yeah.
You know, just click update, and that's, you know, really good actually.
No, I like that. So you're not stuck with the once you've created it.
Yeah, no, it's you've got full flexibility in there to edit and move as well.
So what about revisions? How has that been dealt with in the new release?
Yeah, so in Revit itself, that's kind of improved. So in Revit, you're now able to revise multiple sheets. So, you know, select them in the project browser, and then in the properties, you can click edit current revision and assign a revision to multiple sheets. So, you know, that's kind of nice actually, because you was always going one sheet at a time and ticking that box. And they've also allowed you to schedule revision clouds now. And you can also add extra parameters onto the revision clouds.
Yes.
So I think there's some workflows there. I've not investigated them fully yet, but I think there's some workflows there that will help manage that across a larger project. So you can start to schedule out which revisions are on which sheet and you know how all that works really.
No, I think and it was always at the end, right, when a revision started to be added. You know, you get to your deadline, you get to the point where, okay, we need to push out these drawings, and you end up needing to add revisions at the end. You might be sending out hundreds of drawings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you can manage that, you know, through scheduling, all the better.
Yeah,
really.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
And and I think this comes to, you know, all these sort of bits and pieces. I think we're talking about when you're talking about external sources like Excel links or whatever, you're able to get other expertise in as well. You know, you can get document management more closely linked to your workflows than, all right, publish it, check it if it's correct. Oh no, we've got to republish something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a more seamless workflow. So does Naviate add any functionality to revisions?
Yeah, I've been for a while. We've so in Naviate, we've for a few releases we've been able to revise multiple sheets. So, you know, to anyone that's actually working on an earlier version, then you know maybe Naviate could help you with that a little bit. But in the latest version, we've got an updated revision manager, and what it really does for you is it allows you to do all of your revisions in one place. Yeah. So within the revision manager, you can create the revisions, edit existing revisions, change notes, or if you've got the different numbering systems, you can swap those around if you need to. So you can create all of that and apply it to multiple sheets in the one dialog box. You're not sort of swapping between them. And actually, in this latest release, you can also export the revision history straight to Excel and start to build up a bit of a sort of an issue sheet directly. It's quite a nice format when it goes out. And there is some functionality where you can, as you were talking about getting others involved, where you can start to fill out which sheets need which revisions in Excel and then just bring it back in.
Okay, nice.
And then that updates all of those. So again, getting that sort of, as you say, other people involved, that you don't always have to be the Revit user to go and do it all. It's quite good.
Yeah. So then Naviate, how much of Revit does it support? Does it go back to what version of Revit?
So it's there for, I'd say it does go back to sort of 19, but realistically the functionality is developed quite frequently. So it's there for previous versions. Obviously the newest best functionality is in the latest versions. But yeah, so if you do sort of subscribe or grab a license of that, it is available back to, I'd say, sort of 19 at the earliest, really. There is a possibility to go further, but I don't think anyone should be working on 19 at this point in time. It's far too early.
No, that's fair.
You need to upgrade your projects. Trust me, you really, really do. I know there's been talk about, no one ever wants to do it, and it's a lot of work, but
it makes a huge difference. Very quickly.
It really is. There's so much in the newer versions that's maybe not been, publicized so much, but lots of little things that just make it easier and it's quicker.
And I think in the meantime, I think we'll see a trend as we discuss more about things like Naviate, but that Naviate will bring functionality right forward to where 2024 is in a lot of areas.
Yeah, it can certainly sort of supplement a lot of those in the sort of 21, 22, 23, bringing it forward, definitely. Yeah.
So on schedules and parameters is another area that requires a lot of effort, especially with the requirements these days of COBie, ISO requirements, and it's just getting more and more stringent. So has there been much improvement in this area?
Yeah. Again, it's getting better. It's I mean, that's the one thing I've seen a lot over the last few years, really, is the amount of requirements for COBie, for IFCs, for more data. That seems to be happening more and more regularly now. Actually, up until a few years ago, COBie was, we'll deal with that if we get to it, if we ever get to it. And now we're getting people coming to us saying, actually, we need COBie on this project. Can we go and sort these things out? And it's not the easiest thing to do. It doesn't fit in with the workflow always. But yeah. So I mean, from Revit itself for parameters, just the functionality to be able to search and filter and everything else. You get hundreds of parameters on these bigger projects. So if you can actually search for it or filter out to just instance parameters or whatever, it does save you quite a bit of time. Other things, they put the IFC parameters in, talking about that. So built in now, you've got the IFC sort of parameters to help you categorize the elements to the different classes and things. That's quite useful. An interesting one recently is the parameters service. So this is something that's based on Autodesk Docs, and you need to be the sort of admin level for the whole hub, not just the project. But you're able now to effectively upload your shared parameters to the cloud.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, and then anyone that's working within those hub, not just on that project, but within that hub, can see those parameters and use them in their projects, and it just saves a lot of that, storing text files in different places and sending them around, and forgetting which one is the current one and everything else. It's they're searchable and everything else. So that's quite interesting, actually.
No, I like that a lot. I think that's always been an issue where also people are afraid to kind of load in a new version when they're just about to publish their work. A new version comes in. What happens if something goes wrong. But if you're all reading from that same file,
yeah. Well, you always get those, those duplicate parameters, don't you?
Yes.
There's always 2 category parameters and 3 of these and 5 rating with different spelling and all of those sorts of things. It's, this should help sort of clear that out.
I like it.
I've got to mention the parameter management in Naviate as well.
Okay,
that's pretty cool. So latest release, we've got the parameter manager itself, which again allows you to create, move, import shared parameters around that. That's really good. And we've also got the parameter editing functions that are kind of like bringing Excel into Revit. So you can build a schedule or just choose a schedule that you've already got, but then you get a lot of the kind of auto-fill, search and replace functionality, copy and paste functionality there in the grid itself, rather than having to kind of export to Excel and then do stuff and then bring it back in.
Yes.
So which we can do.
Yes.
But yeah, the parameter editing there, I mean, it's really useful actually.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one which made Excel attractive, was that you could do the dragging and the copying and everything. But so I'm glad it's getting there. At least.
Do it live in Revit. I rarely use the export now.
Yeah,
because and you can just copy and paste to Excel as well if you need to. You don't need to export. You just highlight, copy, paste, and then come back again. Same way. It's really good.
Yeah, I think with all those things you mentioned is really the firstly, the requirements for information quality has improved, but the demand has gone up and the use has gone up. And I think all of these features are just going to help make that more efficient and more accurate.
Yeah, I think as we're talking about Kobe, it's people don't consider it until they have to deliver it, and then that's when it becomes a pain. I mean, the prime example is groups. Everybody uses groups. Apartments are groups for cores, groups for everything.
Yeah.
And the interoperability tools don't want to write parameters into groups. So, the option is either to skip the group or ungroup them.
Yeah.
No one wants to do that. So having these tools where actually we've got a slightly different way of doing it, and it's just as automated and easy to do. It's really, really useful.
So you're saying groups isn't perfect yet?
Not yet.
No. All right. No, that's
will it ever be?
Okay, then room data sheets. I mean, I know that this is, from experience, this is a huge, massive time-consuming task and can be quite an overhead on a project. Is there anything that would help for this?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously in 24, the multiple views on a sheet. So, if you've gone through the pain of creating all those views, at least you can pick the plan and the elevations and drag it onto the sheet in one go. That's, in Revit itself, that's probably saved you an awful lot of time if you've got lots of rooms. But yeah, in Naviate, we actually created a tool at a customer's request. They were working on a healthcare project, had to do the room data sheets for all of the sort of hospital rooms. I had to issue them like every few weeks, and it was taking them probably longer to create the room data sheets than they had in between issues. It was taking that long. So yeah, we've created the room drawings tool, and that gives you a nice interface where you can select as many rooms as you want, and then choose whether you have plans. We actually use sections rather than elevations to, because if you have an L-shaped room or something at an odd angle, then we use sections, but you can control the position in all of those and how many it creates, and add in things like ceiling plans or 3D views even. And then it will actually go and assemble those onto a drawing sheet for you as well. I mean, choose your view templates as well, so you get all the right scale and what you want displayed, and it will assemble it onto a drawing sheet, and it will do that for every room in the project if you want. It's very, very powerful. Yeah, we've had people say, what may take a few days, maybe even a week or more, comes down to maybe half a day.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Yeah.
What I like about that as well is the room data sheets is repetitive. There's a lot of things to do, and what happens if it's a manual process, you start maybe making errors.
Yeah,
you might put the wrong view on the wrong room, something like that. And I think the automation helps to improve accuracy, not just speed up time, but improve that at the same time.
I mean, you know, we've got to stress this doesn't do the whole job. You've still got to go through and, you know, check and add annotation and, you know, still do the finishing work. But that monotonous task of just, you know, creating all of those elevations and cropping all of those plans is gone, and creating the sheets and putting it all on the right sheet. You know, so you've still got to go through and you know, finish off the drawings, as it were.
So you still got to do some work.
Unfortunately, it's not.
No, that's
not quite that good.
So I think automation, really, that's a big topic, and I think it's sometimes misunderstood on what that means, or practically what that means. Add-ins like Dynamo are popular and powerful. And could you maybe talk about a little bit of where something like Naviate and add-in functionality and Dynamo, where would you apply both of them?
Yeah, so I mean, for those that don't know Dynamo, it comes with Revit. It's a visual scripting tool. The idea is that it's got node blocks of bits of code, so we don't actually have to write code as such, although a lot of people still do. And then you kind of place those blocks together and connect them up to, I guess, perform like a series of commands. And it's, I mean, for a scripting tool, it's easy to use, but if you're you know, used to designing and being much more sort of graphical, then it's not that easy to use. But you know, you can pick it up. I've picked it up, which is saying something. But it's always quite bespoke, I find. So what it's really, really powerful at is that thing that's unique to your project. You know, it's difficult to pick out an example, but you know, something on there that you have to do it this way because of this project and how it works and how the data needs to go, and you can build that script to do that exact task. And that's, you know, incredibly powerful. We do use it a lot, you know, symmetry. We've got guys that are much better at it than I am, and yeah, we use it an awful lot to help out. I'd say Naviate is probably more like the common tasks that you want to, you know, that are tedious and repetitive. It's the common tasks that helps with. It's still incredibly powerful, and it may be that actually, you know, in Naviate there's like 100 separate tools. A combination of those tools will get you a similar result, as opposed to one bespoke script that you just run and it does everything. But on the downside, you have to kind of maintain Dynamo. You know, if the person that wrote the script is off that week and you need to use it, it's going to be difficult. You know, Dynamo gets updated frequently, so quite often the script you were using on the last product now needs editing and rewriting, and there's it's not really a good interface with it.
No, that's for sure.
So yeah, I think that's the thing. You know, Dynamo's bespoke and it's brilliant and it's, you know, great at what it does, but something like an add-in, it's, you know, we've got a lot of people that support it and develop it. It's got a proper interface. Anyone can use it. They're easy to use. There's lots of help available, and it's reliable as well.
No, I think that's a good point, the reliability part. I think for me, sort of to sum the difference would be like the add-ins, like Naviate, is good for all those tasks that every project really needs. We all need to do the same thing en masse. When it comes to nuances for a project, maybe you start going into Dynamo. But I kind of look at it, if you taking scripts and starting to place them from project to project, it probably means you need an add-in. You're going to need that reliability, because those scripts are going to start breaking down at some point.
And it may be that the add-in isn't a one-click solution like a script may be, but you know, using a few little bits there, it's going to be just as quick.
And anybody can use it then.
And anyone can use it.
Instead of the computational guys. So just looking at Naviate, really, what would you say is your top 3 tools?
Okay, well, as you said, there's a lot of tools in there, so it's difficult just to pick 3. But I think, I mean, the one that always comes out as one of our most used tools is the color elements tool, actually.
Yeah.
This tool, I mean, effectively it colors objects in the model as you would expect it to, but it colors them according to any parameter that you choose. So you can pick, say, walls and choose fire rating or type or any parameter that you want, length, height, anything, and it will color it accordingly automatically. And then that just allows you to check that model. You can see all of the values there present in the model, so you can quickly spot a rogue one. And then you can see it all color coded in the view. And it's just a graphical way of checking the model, rather than scrolling through a schedule. It's a graphical way, and it's brilliant. And then part 2 of that is you can then actually create the view filters, apply them to view templates direct in the tool as well. So if you do need that for creating drawings and things, it's great for that as well.
Nice.
So yeah, that's probably the first one. I think that's one of the ones that gets used the most, actually. We've seen from our research. I think the second one is it's in the latest release of Naviate. It's the sort of tagging tools. There's a few settings for it, but basically the idea is we can set up some default tags for different objects.
Yes. And
then we can automate it so that we can, say for our room data sheets, we can say, right, we need the room tag and a door tag and an equipment tag. And then we just go and choose all of the views that we want to tag. And then you click the go button and it goes off and tags all of those views.
Multiple sheets at the same time?
Multiple views on multiple sheets all at the same time. Yeah, and it's pretty quick as well. It's when we were talking about having to go around all of those views and finish them off, then this is another big step towards that as well. Yeah. So that's really, really useful. And I think the third one, then I guess I'm going to say just the publishing tools, actually.
Okay.
Because again, everybody spends it forever.
Yes.
You have to allow half a day or a day sometimes at the end. Just so your deadline is maybe Friday, but actually you need to finish Thursday because Friday is publishing day. So being able to speed that up, we can do the PDFs, DWGs, IFCs, Navisworks, all in one go, really. And it's a one-click thing. You can go off to lunch while it does it.
Nice. I like it.
That's a really good set of tools.
I think just to touch on a few points there is the coloring of parameters, visually seeing it. I think that's quite an underutilized part, is the visual coordination.
Yeah.
If you can visualize your data in its environments, all the better. When you're looking at a sheet of data, that's great. You can start maybe checking naming conventions or whatever that might be. But when you're able to see those parameters in situ, it starts to make more sense, and you can almost, in a lot of ways, speed up coordination in that respect. You can see where things should be, whereas in a sheet, you don't know. You don't know really.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, talking to the guys that take things to Navisworks and use like the color profiling to color things in according to parameters, and then checking the model that way. So like the MEP guy, but all of the ductwork systems are all connected.
Yeah.
I tried it quickly on the standard sample Kobe model.
Yeah.
And almost none of them are correct in there because they all come up as different colors. 2 ducts, and then the bit that's connecting them is a different color, and you go, well, that's a different system now.
Yeah.
And you can see it visually straight away, which you can't do in a schedule.
No,
so it's really powerful.
No, that's great. Another one, you mentioned tagging. So I had something that saved me probably 2 days worth of it. It was a 2-day job. I did it in a couple of hours. I had this very complex curved facade on a high rise. Yeah. Every floor was a different shape. So what I used in the tagging tool was basically able to add tags, select multiple elements, add tags in a certain direction. And as I went around the building, I was able to say which sides it should be.
Yeah.
And that is a manual process, would have taken, like I say, days. So immediately that saved me time.
Yeah.
So then that's Naviate. What about Revit? What are some of your top favorite features on Revit?
Yeah, I mean, it can only really be the Topo Solid. Yeah, no, it can only be the Topo Solid. That's such a revolution to the way we do the sort of external works. It's something it's going to take a little bit of thinking about, I think, because everyone used to use floors and things, and that may still be valid, but we've got a lot of that functionality in the Topo surface, so that's going to be really, really good actually, and I think a kind of a really good new feature.
No, great.
I think again, as I said, just being able to place multiple views on sheets, I know it's a little thing, but it's just kind of nice to do, and it does it nicely as well. So that's kind of a nice one.
No, that's great. Well,
I think last one, gonna say,
yeah,
got to say it because it's not really Revit, but actually the updated version of Twinmotion that we can use.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah, it's got a slightly different interface, and it felt a bit quicker on my old laptop. So yeah, that's kind of nice.
And just clarify, so that comes with your Revit subscription now, right?
That's right, yeah. So if you're subscribed to Revit, you should get access to Twinmotion. It takes you to the Twinmotion site to download it. And yeah, so now with the latest version, it's I think they're slightly, they're not out of sync, but I think in 23 Revit it was Twinmotion 22. And now in 24 Revit, we've got Twinmotion 23.
Nice.
So a bit confusing with the years and things, but it's the later version, and it's kind of nice actually.
Cool. I've got an upcoming webinar with one of our experts on Twinmotion.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put some links for the socials to look up some upcoming webinars. But thanks, Paul. I think you gave a great summary of kind of where we're at, where the trends are. And I can see that it's healthy. It's getting better in all the right ways, I think.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of disquiet a few years ago around some letters that were sent, and I think Autodesk have listened a bit actually, and it is getting developed, and they are taking things from the wish list, which is good. And yeah, it's certainly getting a bit quicker and a bit better for our bigger projects.